What is the secret to strong chess pawn structures? Imagine building a fortress with your pawns that no enemy can easily break through. That's the essence of a solid pawn structure in chess. It's not just about having many pawns, it's about how they work together. When your pawns support each other, they create a chain that controls key squares and makes it tough for your opponent to invade. Think of pawn chains as a line of soldiers linked arm in arm, each protecting the one behind. These chains help you control the center and important areas on the board. Avoid weak spots like isolated pawns, which stand alone with no support. These are easy targets for your opponent to attack and can become a liability. Backward pawns, which can't safely advance because of enemy pressure, also weaken your position. Doubling pawns on the same file might seem like a way to control space, but it often creates weaknesses that your opponent can exploit. The goal is to keep your pawn islands, groups of pawns separated by files, as few as possible. Fewer islands mean fewer weaknesses and easier defense. Controlling key squares is vital. When your pawns occupy or threaten to occupy central squares, they restrict your opponent's pieces and give you more room to maneuver. If you have a pawn majority on one side, you can push it forward to create a passed pawn, one with no opposing pawns blocking its path to promotion. Passed pawns are powerful in the late game because they can threaten to become queens and decide the game. Managing pawn structures during the middle game involves planning pawn breaks, moves that challenge your opponent's pawns or open lines for your pieces. For example, pushing a pawn to open a file can create attacking chances. Protecting your pawn chains and their bases is essential. If a chain breaks, your position can weaken quickly. Look for opportunities to target your opponent's weak pawns, especially isolated or backward ones, to gain an advantage. Using your pawn majority to push a passed pawn or gain space can shift the game in your favor. Always coordinate your pieces to support your pawn structure and control critical squares. When you understand how to keep your pawn chains strong and how to exploit your opponent's weaknesses, you can make smarter decisions about exchanges and pawn advances. This approach helps you build a resilient position that can adapt as the game progresses. Mastering pawn structure management is like laying a solid foundation. Everything else in your game depends on it.